Hey everybody, uh, thanks for all spending some time with us today. Before we get started, I'd like to mention a few things, take care of a few housekeeping issues. Um, During the webinar, if you have any technical difficulties, just feel free to type into the chat box or contact Christine by email and she will be able to help you out. I'd like to ask that you sign up for the last two webinars in the mining and ore processing campaign. There'll be one that's taking place on March 24th, and that's about improving the reliability through the hydraulic equipment upgrade. And on March 31st, reducing seal and packing water consumptions. Feel free, you're welcome to invite your customers to these final webinars as well. There will be a recording of this presentation and a link to the slides on the Chesterton Sales Resource Center, and it will also be emailed to you later on today. And at the end of the webinar, please let us know how we did by completing a survey that we'll get a link to you for. So thanks everybody. Good afternoon. Thanks for taking time out of your day to attend this webinar on improving reliability with SpiralTrac in the mining industry. My name is Duncan Gillis, and my role today is going to be presenting the available SpiralTrac options to you that are available for rotating equipment.
And welcome guys, my name is Csaba Körsi and I'm responsible for marketing and IT here at EnviroSeal. And at the end of this webinar I'm going to take a couple minutes to talk to you about the new website we have and why it will be good for you to sign up for the website for the distributor center to find all the materials and all the information that you might need. And after that we're going to have as much time as you want for questions if you have any at the end. So, yeah, I think we're ready to go.
Good. So what we're going to start off with today is we're going to talk about all of the benefits of SpiralTrac and the technology and how you can better apply these benefits to make your sealing solutions that you're offering to your customers better. A few of the things that we're going to cover as far as the basic operation of SpiralTrac. I'll talk a little bit about flush, when you should be using it, how much you should be using. We'll talk about some of the sealing options available to you, the packing options as well. And we're going to cover a few materials, preferred materials that we tend to go to when we're dealing with mining applications and tough abrasive slurry applications. So during the webinar, if you have any questions at any time, please feel free to pop into the chat box and ask some questions. Csaba is going to keep his eye on things there, so if there's any questions, please feel free to jump in at any time. So as far as what is a SpiralTrac, what we talk about a SpiralTrac, we're talking about, we like to call it an active throw pushing. It's a specialized throw pushing engineered to transform and control the seal cavity area in and around the stuffing box. We're going to look at some of the issues that arise in a standard seal cavity stuffing box area. So this is the area that we at EnviroSeal are most concerned with, the stuffing box area. So a lot of times you're taking an application, you may be trying to upgrade them to a mechanical seal that has previously been packed in the past. So some of the issues that arise is that these stuffing boxes are made at smaller cross sections for these smaller cross sections of packing. So when you get your mechanical seal in there, a lot of times there's not a lot of room for some circulation, for things to be circulating inside the stuffing box, whether you're using a single seal or you're using a double seal or whatever you're trying to upgrade to. So what are some of the things that we're trying to do here to help protect these seals in these tough abrasive applications? Is what you're doing is using a high volume of flush to help keep the seal cool and to help try to create at least 15 feet per second velocity underneath the throat at the bottom of the box to prevent these solids and abrasives from getting into the area where they can be harmful to the mechanical seal. So what's happening inside these stuffing boxes is that you have different types of flows going on. You have axial flows and you have rotational flows. These rotational flows are developed from the shaft's rotation. Once the pump starts up, centrifugal force is taking these rotational forces, driving them around the stuffing box. But you also have axial flows. You have axial flows that are coming off surfaces, like if there's a step in the shaft, the end of the mechanical seal, maybe the impeller hub is extending inside of the box. So these flows are actually directing these rotational flows back towards the mechanical seal, and they're just circulating around inside the stuffing box area. So when you flood a pump, getting ready to start it up, what can happen is your abrasives and slurries are entering the seal cavity, and you end up with an area that can be airlocked. So all of this air, it can be up to 20 to 30% of the stuffing box area. You can have a big volume of air that gets trapped inside the seal cavity. When the pump is turned on, what happens is the heavier solids are taken and driven out to the bore of the pump. The air is drawn in towards the shaft area. So this is problematic because what happens is your elastomers, your O-rings, can end up heating up, not being lubricated properly. So now we have what we have inside the seal cavity is we have an excess of air, and we have these solids that are essentially trapped inside there, circulating around, coming back towards the mechanical seal. So what are we doing to protect here? We're still using the high volume of flush. We're trying to keep the faces cool. We're trying to keep the O-rings cool. We're trying to keep that velocity underneath the throat to prevent more solids from coming in back getting at your seal. But the problem there is you're using a high volume of water, and you're not really doing anything to get rid of the solids that are inside the seal cavity right now. I have a couple of videos here on the left. What you're seeing is the seal cavity with just a standard throat back plate at the bottom of the stuffing box, and you have the same situation but with a SpiralTrac impeller side installation installed at the bottom of the box. With the air vent positioned at 12 o'clock, what you have is your seal cavity being fully vented of air on initial startup. So immediately, this is helping us to rid of one of the issues that we see of seals failing. Let's take a look at what's going on inside. Now we have a video of the air being trapped inside. What happens when the pump is turned on? All of the air is going right around to the inside, right around the shaft, right around the seal faces, right around the elastomers. So this is not an optimal environment and this is why we're using a high amount of water in these applications to try to cool things down inside the seal cavity. So we have a question here. Patrick has a question. I have a customer that's flushing 100 gallons a minute from 2 flush ports into their matrix pumps for phosphate mining in Florida. When we went to a SpiralTrac, I told them to just use 1 port instead of 2. The 1830 SSP packing is smoked in minutes. I suggest they don't have enough flush pressure, but they are not willing to improve since the double lantern ring is working. Any suggestions? Well, I'd like to get into that one with you, Patrick, but I think that one might be a better question to talk about after the presentation is over. That we can get a little more in depth with that one. But I'm assuming that you're not getting enough flow to the stuffing box there, because that seems to be an excessive amount of water. But we'll have to look into the size of the application we're looking at, and because we'd be recommending typically a lot lower rate of flush for that type of application. So we'll get with you later on in the webinar for that. Okay.
Yeah.
How about I take this down?
Yeah. Yeah.
So now what we have is, this is your typical application. You have your solids that have entered the box. You have your air trapped at the 12 o'clock position inside the box. The pump is turned on. You can see the flow splitting off from the end of the seal. They're being driven back towards the mechanical seal, and they're trapped inside the stuffing box. There's nowhere for them to go. So what we're going to do now is we're going to show you the exact same situation, but we have the SpiralTrac installed at the bottom of the box. We've already vented the air upon initial startup, so that we've taken care of that issue. And now we're going to see when the pump is turned on, immediately the solids are drawn towards the spiral geometry. We pick up the solids at the largest diameter inside the box, and they're directed through the spiral geometries back out through to the impeller, where there's no harm to the mechanical seal. And what we're effectively doing is creating an optimal environment for your mechanical seal to be operating in. Chesterton has some very good fluid dynamic modeling that we've done for different products over the years. These are very good sales tools to use to your customer to be able to show them actually what's happening. What we have here is we have a simulation that we've done at 1800 RPM, and we've actually used paper, coal, and sand particles, all different, represented by the different colors. And what you can use this to actually show your customer, we can effectively how the spiral is directing all the solids back through to the volute of the pump, where there's no harm to the mechanical seal. As you can see, the pulp and paper, the paper fibers are the green solids. They have the lowest specific gravity. They take the longest to circulate and get removed. The heaviest solids that you see at 2.5 specific gravity, the heavier the solid, the quicker it's going to be driven out of the stuffing box through the spiral geometry. What you'll see now is we're going to take the path the solids are taking through the spiral grooving. You can see the clearance from the ID of the SpiralTrac over the shaft. SpiralTrac is designed to not contact the shaft. We have clearance built in. So as this fluid and these solids are going through the spiral geometry, we're having a nice circulation of fluid. So you have fluids that are coming, cooler fluids from the process coming back into the stuffing box, and that's what's helping us, allowing us to run with no flush in some sealed applications, because we don't need the flush to keep the solids away from the seal, and we don't need the flush to be able to for as much cooling, because we're drawing some of that cooler process fluid back into the box. So these models are all available to you if anyone is looking for them. They'll be part of the show that you can download later, or you can come to us. Eliminating seal and cavity erosion. In a lot of cases, due to the flush itself having maybe pipe scale, or maybe you're using river water for a flush and you might have silt or stuff from the river in the flush. Instead of having the solids accumulate inside the seal cavity, we're essentially constantly removing them from the seal cavity. So with a SpiralTrac installed, you're in a better situation if you don't have, because really, who has totally clean flush? To eliminate flush in sealed applications, what we're trying to achieve is to have a clear, unobstructed path for the spiral geometry through to the impeller side from the stuffing box. So when we're using, if we're just installing a SpiralTrac and it's resting up against the back plate, we do still recommend that you use a flush in sealed applications. We are asking that because we're effectively going to still remove the solids from the stuffing box, but if you have a tight clearance obstruction behind the SpiralTrac, we're just looking for a positive flow of the flush to help push those solids out underneath when they get stuck in the exit groove on the impeller side of the SpiralTrac. Flush is a hot topic. How much do we need? How much can we reduce? We've worked with Chesterton and we have some general guidelines based on shaft size for how much flush you can be using. Patrick, if you're still listening, some of these rates that you'll see here are significantly lower than what your customer is currently using. So when you're coming to us for an application, we can look at it and see what we're trying to accomplish, and we can give a recommendation about how much flush we should be using. What's key is that we need to have we recommend at least 15 psi pressure flush over stuffing box pressure, so we can ensure that we have a positive flow going through the stuffing box. What we don't need is to necessarily have that high rate. So what we want to do is we recommend to have a flow meter on there, so we're able to see how much that we're taking the flush down to. But we just want to make sure that we remain having a positive flow going through the box. So based on the information you're getting from a potential customer about their needs, before you go out and present a solution to them, it'd be nice to be able to prepare a few options for them. So what are the key questions that you should be asking your customers? We want to know, what are the issues you're having with your current sealing solution? What are your expectations? How much life are you getting from the sealing solution you're currently using? When the seal fails, what's the typical mode of failure? Are we talking solids accumulation? Is there excess heat being generated? Do you have a product that is, after it sits for a little while, is it crystallizing when exposed to air? Do you have some alignment, shaft runout issues? Do you have issues with your flush line in itself? So as far as the flush, are you using a flush? How much flush is being used? What's the cost of the present flush water usage? Are you looking to reduce? Is that key for your customer? Are they really looking to reduce the amount of water they're putting in there? How much are your effluent treatment costs? How much are you treating after the fact? So the less water that we end up putting in an application, in a lot of cases it's less that has to be taken out at a later point. Is your customer open to doing machine upgrades? We'd like to know that. Do they have is the pump going to be in a shop where we can take it and do some basic machining to get the impeller side installation into the SpiralTrac, which would be our optimal solution. As far as versions of SpiralTrac that we're talking about, when we're talking about mechanical seals, and when you're talking about you're going to go to looking to recommend a 442 split seal, where we go is the version F SpiralTrac. You're basically selling this type of SpiralTrac with the same type of benefits that you're trying to sell your 442 seal. It's split. It can be installed in the field without having to disassemble the pump. It's a very easy installation. It's axially split and pinned. It's installed over the shaft and pushed down to the bottom of the box. You install your split seal on top of that, and you're ready to go. Our version N, D, and C. We're using the version N in general solids, in your general slurries. It's a single spiral design. The version D is our double spiral design. We use that in fibrous applications, applications where your product can be held in suspension. It helps, the extra spiral helps generate more flow inside the seal cavity. And we have the version C as well. And we'll use that in applications where you might be using intermittent service, and maybe you're letting the pump sit, maybe the product can crystallize or harden. What the C does is has a drain at the 6 o'clock position. So when you drain the volute, there's not going to be any product that gets left around the seal faces that can harden or crystallize, so that when you start to seal back up at a later time, you could end up with a failure. So, and then we have the version P, which we're using with packing only. So, and I'll get in depth a little bit more on the version P as we go further. Here's the version F we talked about. You know, we're using this in conjunction with the 442 split seal, and all your selling points on this is similar to what you're doing with your 442. Focus on the ease of installation, reduced equipment maintenance, increasing pump reliability, no modifications required at all for this installation, while drastically reducing the amount of flush that the application needs to run successfully. This is a visual of how your impeller side installation is going to be mounted up. We're going with this when your goal is to drastically reduce or even eliminate the flush water in the majority of your non-fibrous applications. Typically, unless you have an open bore, you're going to have to do some slight machining to get this installed in the bottom of the box, but that's no trouble at all. We provide upgrade drawings for you, letting you know what machining has to be done to the stuffing box. Flip through some of these. I'm going to go to, I'm going to talk about materials now. What materials? This is a big question we get, especially for these abrasive applications. What materials should we be using and where? We have customers that use our carbon-filled PTFE material in slurry applications, but the thing is, we need to be sure that we have a clean, reliable flush, because if we're cleaning out the stuffing box and your seal water is clean, we're not having to continuously run slurry through the spiral geometry, so we can get away with carbon-filled PTFE in some applications. But for the most part, the material of choice for our abrasive applications is our 416 stainless steel. Has a Rockwell C of 26. If there's any chance that there's any chemicals or any nasties inside, then where we'd like to go, our best material for our slurry applications is our 17-4 stainless steel. We actually heat treat the 17-4 material if it's needed. And what we can do is take the Rockwell C of 36 and take it to a Rockwell C of 43 to 44 when we use this material. Another material that we use in the mining industry in these abrasive applications is our STR material. And a lot of you are probably familiar with it. It's Chesterton's AWC 800 material. We manufacture that single split. It's very flexible, but it is also very durable and has excellent wear properties for slurry applications. And another material that we'll use that is popular is, if I mentioned earlier that SpiralTrac is designed to not contact the shaft. We have built-in clearance on the ID. But when we use materials like our bearing grade materials, such as our MGE, our bearing grade PEAK, or our 660 bronze, bearing bronze, what we do is we tighten up the clearance over the shaft to a few thousandths of an inch, and then if there's any shaft run out, if there's any shaft deflection, what we're doing is helping absorb that shock. So in addition to being able to help reduce the amount of water, being able to evacuate solids from the box, we're also providing some extra stability inside the box for the application. The version P for packing, it's the lowest cost sealing solution for equipment that is already packed. We're reducing up to 80 to 90% of the seal water required. And with the version P, you're a lot better suited to handle poor quality flush than a standard packing and lantern ring arrangement. And there's no need for any modifications with the version P at all. So in this instance, if you're using water from the river, or if you have a settling pond that you're pulling a tailings pond, maybe you're pulling some flush water from, any solids that are in your flush line in this type of arrangement, you're going to end up embedding them underneath these packing rings right off the bat. With a SpiralTrac version P installed, if you happen to have some solids or debris coming in through the flush line, they're going to be exited back through the impeller side instead of being embedded in underneath the packing rings. Typically, we replace everything from the lantern ring down, and we require a minimum of 3 rings of packing above for the SpiralTrac packing version. And again, we'd like to see, it's recommended that you put a flow controller and a check valve on the flush line. The check valve is nice, so if you ever have a decrease in your flush pressure, you're not going to have a bunch of product coming back through the flush line. Some of the benefits of having the packing version installed is that you have longer packing life. Instead of the solids getting embedded underneath the packing rings, what we're doing is we're keeping out, having a nice area for the packing to seal on the shaft. Less leakage and cleaner leakage at the gland. SpiralTrac is going to enable you to control the leakage to a drip rate. Shaft and sleeve wear. Now, because the bottom packing rings aren't going to run loose, have solids from the application come back underneath the packing ring and start scoring the shaft, we don't need as much gland force to seal the packing rings that are above, because we only have 3 rings and we're not trying to squeeze down to seal those bottom rings at the bottom of the box. Chesterton has a lot of high quality packings out there. One of the best programs that we have with the SpiralTrac is to have them sold in a superset, pre-cut rings to go with the SpiralTrac version P. Very easy. You come to us, you get a SpiralTrac part number, we send the information, how many packing rings, of what type of packing and what size. Chesterton will give you a unique item number. So then that unique item number will get you the SpiralTrac and the cut rings of packing for your customer all set, and then that's a number that's unique for your customer. I have a lot of success stories that are embedded at the bottom part of this presentation. I'll just maybe go over one here that we've seen. This is one that was done earlier in 2016. This was at a nickel mine in South Africa. We had a Warman pump, and they were getting, before we got involved, they were getting 7 days out of a packing set. So each time, because of lost production and repacks and the labor for the workers, each repack was costing them over $7,000. We installed a SpiralTrac, 3 rings of Chesterton 1830 SSP. Sealing solution cost them $12,000, but now they're getting 7 weeks in between repacks. So quick ROI after 7 weeks saved them over $40,000. So it's very important for documentation. the more you know about what your customer's doing, how often they're doing repacks, the easier it's going to be to do a proper ROI for them after it's all said and done. So our time is really passing by pretty quick here. I know we're going to have some time for some questions after this, but I wanted to pass things off to Chubba here, because he was going to spend a few minutes and show you some new features about our website, and then we'll open up for some questions after that. So thanks very much for your time today, and I'm going to pass things over to Chubba at this point.
All right. Hi, folks. Hope everybody's enjoying their Friday afternoon, or depending on where you are in the world, I guess, night or morning. So if you can see the website right now, or if you have any issues, Christine, just let us know in the chat. What you should be seeing, this is our home screen for a new website. And basically what I'm trying to focus in for now is if you go up on the industry selection page, and now since this is a mining focused webinar, if you click on the mining part and if you scroll down, you can see a couple of applications that we've been successful in the past with the application solution and the equipment that was used. And on this page there are some sample success stories that we have on the website with a little gallery of SpiralTracs in different materials, different shapes and sizes. And in fact, if you refresh that page, then it's always going to be something different, because we have a lot of these devices on the website. But one thing that's a little more important, if you go to the support page and you see, first of all, the news and articles section, we constantly update this with new information about SpiralTrac, or if you want to quickly learn or just read an article, then you can go through these, and it's the easiest way to learn. And if you come down to the literature section, then right out of the bat you can see all our important brochures at the top with some ordering information. So if you're ever looking for an order form, either you just download it from here, or if you search in the search bar, you filter it down to order form and click search, then you're going to see all order forms. Or if you filter it to success story, and in this case go to industry mining and click search, then you're going to find all our stories in the mining industry, which is quite a lot. And you can even filter that more if you're looking for stories involving a 442 seal, for example. All you have to do is just type in 442 as the keyword, click search again, and then you're going to find all stories involving a 442 seal in the mining industry. So that's how the literature page works. There's a lot of information here, a lot of brochures, bulletins, so just feel free to pick your way at it. But more importantly, if you are listening to this webinar, more than likely you can access to the distributor center, and the way you can do that is if you sign up on the website. And actually I am going to link the site, the link right now in the chat box, so you can see right now, even right after this webinar, if you want to sign up on the website, that would be great. It's basically a completely normal sign-up process, and once you created your account and log in, what you're going to see is you're going to see the main hub for the distributor center. It starts with the latest articles. For example, if you have a little luck, then these are articles that's only visible to distributors, the latest library items that's being uploaded, and the latest device in the database. And on the left you can see a little menu bar where you can again go through some articles. In the Learning Center we have a couple of basic presentations, so if you need to have a presentation or you're going to have a lunch and learn, then you can start with these. You can just download it based on industry. You can embed it in your own presentation, or can just use them as they are. And in the marketing library there's a whole lot more material here for you to access, a lot more than what the public can see. So for example, here you have all the installation instructions if you filter them out, or you can download videos, the videos that you see that we showed you in the presentation. You can filter that and go through them, download them, use them. And for example, if you're looking for the SpiralTrac logo that you want to put on in your presentation, that you can find them all here too. So the marketing library is a very great hub to find all the information and all the marketing tools that we provide and all the materials that you might need. Or even if you have something that you're thinking of and you can't find on the website, just write to us and we're going to make something work. For example, here you can see find illustrations too. So if you're looking for version F-Type S with a 442, you can just download an illustration. It's all on the website if you want to present it to your customer. Then in the Boot Your Sales section, we are just talking about the demo pump and some sample devices you can order, the version P display. So this information is all available to you. So if you sign up for the Distributor Center, this is a constantly updated hub. So yeah, basically that's about the new website, and hope you guys are going to sign up.
So at this point, we'll post a link for a survey. Do you have the link to post up there?
Yes, so in the chat box.
So please feel free to fill out this survey for us.
Let's try this again. There you go. That looks better.
All right. So if anyone has any questions at this point, please feel free to ask away. Patrick, I'm probably going to get a hold of you in a little while here, and after the webinar is over, and we can get a little bit more, because it sounds like there's a little bit more to that one to get into. Okay. So at this point, we'll probably stop our recording, and if there's no questions at this time, thanks very much, everybody, for spending some time with us this afternoon.
Right, thanks so much for listening to us, guys.
All right, everybody, enjoy the rest of your day, and have a good weekend.
Have a great weekend.